Tim, from your perspective, do you feel that sort of fits from like what you're seeing and knowing these fields sort of from a boots on the ground sort of level?
Yeah, knowing that you did have different research projects through that paddock, and the fact that you've got low protein and low yield there in that centre red area, and even the fact you've got some really high little areas in there, I'm starting to wonder. I got me doubts whether there is any major soil constraints in there, and probably is just a legacy of past paddock
management,
and probably just pure nitrogen. Or it may be phosphorus too. That'd be the other one, but I'd say it'd be mainly nitrogen, then phosphorus. So it could potentially be very easily turned around with a fairly minimal spend, really, to potentially drastically increase the productivity of that paddock, really.
Yeah, agreed. And and I think it's really interesting once you do start getting into that protein layer and seeing some of those legacy sort of crop rotation history management when fences have been pulled out, that sort of thing. And being more of a research farm, I tend to agree with what you're saying, especially of how defined that zone is in the middle. That could be really something that could be really easily explained. And I guess ground truthing it with some deep end testing would essentially ride that home. And I think going through converting some of these into a variable rate nitrogen map, I think you'd have strong confidence in saying these will be essentially the defined zones. And then based on the season, it's then still adjusting what rates are we actually going to be aiming for here on the different zones. So
the other thing I'd like to see overlaid there at the moment is just a topography map or elevation, because sometimes frost damage, I'd say, generally increases the protein, but I've also definitely seen yields where it's decreased it. So frost is a bit of a weird thing. It may be the other underlying issue, but being such a blocked pattern there, it really looks like defined lines to some management decision to me. But if it is the lowest lying spot in the paddock, and the Wimmera is very prone to frost, that would be the only other impact I could see on that paddock from last year. Not that we had a lot of frost in the spring, so it wasn't a frost last year.
Need to tap into some of those other senses.
I think when you look at the topography there, it does, like John said, as we go sort of east in that paddock, it does drop off into that waterway. But the rest of it, I don't think it's like a big basin in the middle or anything like that. It's pretty flat across there. And I would imagine any cold air that did pull there would actually drop away to that easterly side. So I'd be very surprised if it's a result of frost in that middle area.
I agree with you. I think that blocky pattern, it nearly looks like tractor runs that have done it. So, which is good if that's the case, and it would mean that we can just easily fix it instantly, nearly for this year, with a higher application of N, given it's going into barley.
Yeah, no, exactly. So coming off the back of the wheat, so flipping straight around into a barley crop. You'll then, so what sort of tonnage will you be chasing as a target yield there, Tim?
Oh, look, I think really where we are in the Wimmera, we're always probably budgeting for probably starting off the season looking for a 4 to 4.5 ton crop. But one of the biggest, I'd say the Wimmera's got some of the biggest yield fluctuation of anywhere. We've go from years like 2018 where we were only growing 1.5 tons. A lot of people were getting around the Longrenong area to you get to the next year in 16 and 17 and last year where there was growers growing 6 tons. So it's very hard for us at the moment to really know what we're chasing. We're not in an area that has a stable sort of yield trajectory. So we've got to sort of I personally think that sort of 4 to 4 we need to sort of be growing 4 ton to make money at barley, so we need to be at least aiming for that. I think a lot of guys are trying to reach that 5 tonne, and to do that off of a barley stubble, off of a good wheat stubble, sorry, we are going to be probably looking at requiring somewhere towards 50 units of nitrogen, I would have thought, before we've soil tested that paddock. But we really need to soil test it, and I think we need to soil test in those zones. So that'd be the next thing. I think we need a soil testing map with some pinpoints of where we do it, and then we'll get a far better picture of where we spread and how much we need, and some of those high nitrogen, some of those paddocks that have residual N, we may not have to be putting those really high amounts on, and other areas we do, so which will make it a lot more economical to still reach that high yield target, or not high, but just optimal yield target.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, from this, we can definitely define it into, I think we'd start off at least three zones to that soil testing, this upper third, this middle third, and then this bottom third, and capture that, I guess, for, as that starting point for that deep end, and really back ourselves into, having confidence in those rates that we do vary. Have your sort of standard rate based on that 4.5 tonnes, I guess, is your mid-range. And I think if we've got the then option to then, depending on what the season plays out, up at 20 odd kilos or drop at 20 odd kilos based on what those that soil testing is saying. So we can certainly work through, get those pins lined up and work on a bit of an action plan to get that all tested and get some numbers back in, and then load that into the variable rate map stage.